All right, welcome to the Searchlight Sessions. I'm Maggie McClure, your host, and today I am very excited to have special guest William H. Macy coming to us from Los Angeles, California. Hi, how are you?
Excellent. Well, as we were saying earlier, it's raining here, so we're very pleased.
That's great. What a blessing. I'm going to tell our viewers a little bit about you if they don't know about you already, which I'm sure a lot of them do. So William H. Macy is an actor with a long and distinguished career. This Emmy Award-winning, Academy Award-nominated actor is well known for his roles in movies like Fargo, Seabiscuit, Air Force One, and Sahara, as well as outstanding TV shows like Shameless. But some may not be aware that Mr. Macy is also a screenwriter and director, and he directed a film right here in Oklahoma just a few years ago called Rudderless. So we're so excited to have you and would love to first ask you, how did you get your start in this crazy business?
I did a talent show back in high school in Cumberland, Maryland. My brother, who's 7 years older, had just come back from college and taught me, I think, what could only be described as a very off-color, inappropriate song to sing at a high school talent show. So I sang that, and oh my Lord, when I got to the refrain, which was, your papa ain't your papa, but your papa don't know, that this whole student body let out a roar of glee and laughter. And I have been chasing that sound for the rest of my life. I was hooked completely at that time. So I did a couple of plays in high school. When I went to college, I went to a little school named Bethany College in West Virginia, did theater there. Went to another college called Goddard College up in Plainfield, Vermont. I met David Mamet and Stephen Schachter there. David was our teacher. Stephen and I were his students. And from there, we started at least 2 theater companies, the first one being in Chicago, where I spent 10 years. It was called the St. Nicholas Theater Company. And we were sort of the predecessors of Steppenwolf. As a matter of fact, they took over the theater that we built. And then I moved to New York. It was about 10 years in New York, did a lot of off-Broadway, started another theater company called the Atlantic Theater Company, which still exists down in Chelsea. One of the finer off-Broadway theaters, if you ask me. And then I moved to Los Angeles. I've lived here longer than anywhere. I'm running out of cities. I got to make this start working.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, very cool. So obviously you've done, so your acting career is so impressive. What was your first acting role that you got?
Well, on film, it was a TV show that had come to Chicago to do the pilot. And if memory serves, it was called Spider. That's all I remember about it. But I was in the Screen Actors Guild because of commercials. I'd done some commercials, and I remember thinking at the time, this is it. This is my first time on film. I had a scene or two, and didn't tell anyone on the set. This is my first time. It sounded too cloying, I guess. I did a lot of theater before I ever did film. And now I do mostly film, and I haven't done many plays recently. I did something on Broadway about 10 years ago. And I did a little thing. Dave Mamet wrote 2 one-acts, and we did them here just as the pandemic was hitting. Mm. That's it for theater. It's the odd thing when you live in New York. You can't. It's hard as hell to get roles in plays, and you can never get a movie. To get a play in New York, you have to go to LA and become a movie star, a TV star. Then you can do all the plays you want. So I'm in that boat now. Okay,
I see. Yeah, I have a friend who had just booked a lead role on Pretty Woman, and
shut down.
It got shut down. I felt so bad for him. Oh my gosh.
It's going to come back. I think with the vaccine, they were talking about Christmas of next year. I think so. I think you'll start seeing previews around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think we're finally going to get out of this mess.
Yeah.
Well, I hope a lot of the theaters make it.
I do too. I really do. Well, let's talk about Rudderless a little bit. So, Rudderless was a film built around music in many ways. How did you guys go about selecting musicians and music for this project?
We had a music supervisor whose name is Liz. Oh, look it up for me. Okay. Forgive me, Liz. That's the normal way that film gets into a film. Music gets into a film. Mm-hmm. You get a music supervisor, and based on your budget, what you can afford to spend, and what kind of music you're looking for, he or she is the person who knows that world better than anyone. And in fact, she did. And that led me. There were 7 songs that the band, quote unquote, in the film play, and they were all original songs. And I happened upon 2 songs that I liked a lot by 2 guys that live here, Simon Stedman and Charlton Pettis. And Charlton Pettis has a studio in his garage, a nice recording studio. I like their 2 songs. And then I heard some more stuff by them that wasn't right for the movie, but I liked their stuff. And with one exception, I thought, okay, you guys write the music. And they did. And it was very successful. And I think that was a good call on my part, because it did sound like it had one voice to it. One writer had written them all. And really talented fellows. They were a savior. That was the first good decision that I made.
That's awesome. Yeah, I looked it up. Liz Gallagher, or
yeah.
Yeah.
She knows everything. The indie scene, classical music, she knows everything. So the music supervisors are the key for the director.
Yeah. Was she involved at all with the on-camera musicians that you had, or what did that process look like?
Well, when we were casting the thing, I set as a standard they had to be real musicians of some degree, and I'm not sure I would have casted myself. Cast myself, but a good decision that we made was hiring Ben Queller, who is a rock and roller and wanted to act. And I had met him a couple of times before, and Ben wanted to do it. So he helped with the other guys. And Anton Yelchin was a really nice guitarist and has a nice voice. Rest in peace, Anton. And then Billy Crudup, and I'd seen all these films where Billy sings, and I called him up and I said, so you're a singer, how good a guitarist are you? And he said, you want to know a secret? I can't sing a lick. And I said, wait, I named all these movies. And he said, yeah, they fixed it. I can't sing a lick. And he said, you want to hear? And he sang Happy Birthday. And I went, you're right. You can't sing a lick. But he can. And it was sort of a plot point that he was not the musician, the singer. He just had to be good enough. And Charlton Pettis ended up producing all these songs, not only writing them with his pal. He was really good at helping Billy get this dialed in. And the other thing that we did, I had this cherished illusion way back at the beginning that we'd hire 4 really good musicians, and we would get the songs and we'd rehearse the songs and we'd record them live in front of people. And someone smarter than me said, Bill, if you cast the Rolling Stones, I would tell you, don't do it live, do it to playback. And he was right. That's the only way, because with the exigencies of film and having to do multiple takes, it's got to be done to playback. But what Charlton brought to it, and what our sound recordist did, that was great is that he mic'd everyone. So they played along with it. And there was some of that sound, like the guitar squeaking and the ambient noise that we added to the recording music. And a lot of people were fooled and thought that it was a live recording.
Wow. That's really cool that you guys were able to add those elements to make it seem real after the fact. In my experience, definitely having a pre-recorded track and miming to it is always best for so many reasons, like the ones you said. And also, I mean, a lot of the time there's dialogue going on, and also you just want to be in control of the mix, and you don't want to have to worry about live.
With film, you need as much versatility as you can. So as many takes as you did of the song, you might want something from every single take. And the only way to do that is to playback.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a music supervisor earlier about some of these same things, and she was talking about how playback is always best for so many reasons. And she had one instance where the team was just insistent on the singer actually singing, and because they had to do it so many times, his voice obviously got tired. And the take that they chose looked the best, but it was 5 or 6 takes down the line and he didn't sound his best. So they ended up choosing
looping
that.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, playback and pre-records are always the way to go for sure.
Also, there's, time is money in a film. So you've got to figure out those scenes as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, for sure. No time to think about the sound system and, getting stuff right on the fly like that.
Yeah, you have to know, the director has to suss out exactly what shots you need, and you got to have a shot list, and it's always very optimistic. So you never get all the shots you need. Most directors have, I got to have list, I would like to get list, and if we're smiled on by the fates list.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of those what do you think are the must-have shots for musician scenes?
These days, because of technology, when you get a scene that is huge, almost everybody runs 2 cameras now. So what do you need? You need a nice big master to tell you where we are. You need singles of all the band members, and probably 2 or 3 different sizes. And then you need your artsy fartsy ones, get on stage with them, the tapping toe, all those cliched shots, but you need them because you want to cut back and forth. And if the more material you have, the faster you can cut. So if it's lacking, you can pick up a little bit of tension with the cut. And then of course the audience, and that takes some time too. They're big scenes. I think they would fall under the category of a stunt or a gag.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to wreck a car. You don't get many shots at it, and it's a lot of shooting for one day. And it's tough to record a band doing a live performance.
Yeah.
It's a full day.
For sure. I was just recently a part of a film here in Oklahoma where we were cast as the band, and so I can relate to all of these things that you're saying. And it's interesting, having worked on different films, to see the different approaches from the directors. Some directors spend a lot more time getting all these shots that you're talking about, and sometimes it just flies by and you're hoping that they got what they needed. You just never know what to expect in those situations.
I know. It's a horror. Sometimes music, seemingly live music in a movie, I feel falls pretty flat. One of the things I knew I didn't want to do is it's a legitimate style, but for lack of a better example, Glee. Remember Glee, the TV show Glee? Well, it was clearly a studio recording that you were seeing. So the visual was more like a dance to the studio recording. I wanted this to have the feel of a live performance. And not unlike sex scenes, sometimes a sex scene or a song can just bring your plot screeching to a halt. And it's tough to do a sex scene so that you've actually moved the plot, but you have to. And those love scenes that do that, where something happens, so the two characters aren't the same at the end of it that they were at the beginning. Same thing with a song. Not in a musical theater kind of way, but you have to advance the plot on some level. There's got to be more going on. And so in the Casey and Jeff, who were the co-writers on this, we talked a lot about that, what's going on in this song. The best example is they start out in the garage, if you remember this scene. Mm-hmm. And Billy comes in late, and Ben Queller's saying, and he says, Ben Queller comes in late, and Billy's saying, okay, the chords are, this is a new song. He said, the chords are, and he says, no, I got it. I listened to it. He said, okay, well, it goes to G, and then there's a key change. He said, no, I got it. He says, well, you just want to listen to one verse? No, I got it, man. I got it. Billy goes, okay. And it's a good joke, because Ben Queller is a serious rock and roller, and it was closer to the truth. Ben is a kind of musician who could hear something wrong once and then play it back. And so in the scene, Billy is very impressed with this guy. And it's a little, it's got the sound of a garage in the first part. And then there's a break in the song where we cut to the bar where they played, which was packed to the gills. They were at their height of their success. And it's one of the more thrilling cuts I've ever seen in any movie. And I was so proud of it because the music changed and the scene changed and it was right on the beat. And it was such a shot of adrenaline. It still is to me when I watch that scene. And the song was perfect for it.
What a huge moment. That's so cool. That's awesome. Well, did you guys do a soundtrack for the movie? I believe you did, correct?
We did.
Awesome.
And I don't know where one gets such things. I guess it's on Spotify. You can get it. Put in Rudderless, the movie, and you'll find it. It's great to put in your car. All my friends, they put it in the car, and it's the go-to list in the car.
That's awesome. Well, I think I grew up on soundtracks. I loved soundtracks growing up, and it was such a big part of the movie. And I mean, I was obsessed with them. It seems like today soundtracks aren't as commonplace anymore, unfortunately. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's because of the streaming age that we live in? I think people still buy CDs, but I mean, I've found that soundtracks can be great for a marketing tool to help you have all of the bands involved promoting the movie, promoting the soundtrack. And of course it can create, additional income for the film and the artists. So
yeah, I don't think that's changed. I think if you can get a hit song out of your movie, everybody gets healthy. And I think a lot of people are still nuts about soundtracks and buy them. They buy them online now. They download them. But I think a lot of people are still aficionados of the soundtrack. Mm-hmm. You have to keep separate the soundtrack from the score, as it were. The score is more about mood and setting the scene. And the soundtrack can have a lot of songs in it.
Yeah.
But sure. It did well, as I remember.
Yeah. My partner, Monique, she told me that it did really well on the Billboard charts. That's awesome.
I think it's the only part of the film that actually turned $1.
Oh, well, it was a beautiful film and amazing music. And, it's awesome that you filmed it in Oklahoma. What brought you to Oklahoma to film here?
Well, Casey Twinter and Jeff Robinson are from Oklahoma City, and they wrote it there. And so they set it there. And Oklahoma still had incentives, film incentives for independent films. And I think it was, and we got there just under the wire to get some of those incentives. A lot of states used to do it a lot more. Some states made it work, and it actually generated income and put a lot of people to work in the state. But Oklahoma wasn't crazy about it. There was somebody in the legislature who referred to us as purveyors of filth. We didn't have a very good feeling about Hollywood.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, I mean, just so you know, we are moving in a positive direction with that, and the rebate is back in place, and they have upped the cap. So it's all very good, and it looks very promising for our future here.
Yeah, we had the best time shooting there. Couldn't have done it without Oklahoma. I mean, everyone was so friendly, and I think a lot of films come to town and they say, we're so poor, we don't have much money. And yeah, right. But we were so poor and didn't have much money. And I think people looked at us and believed us. I think one time, I don't think it was that film, but here in LA, I was scouting for something that I shot here. And this huge production company just moved in on the block all at once. It was midnight. And we were trying to look at the buildings at night. And all of a sudden, here come 9 vans and 8 trucks and all of this stuff. And it's another movie. Oh. And I said, you guys are shooting here tonight? And he said, no, this is a scout. I said, 9 trucks and 8 vans is a scout? We were all in the back of someone's Toyota Celica their scout cost more than our movie.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
But music is the key to it. I'll tell you something interesting. As a director, my friend Stephen Schachter told me this. He said, don't let the editor put music in your movie until the very end. And definitely not the first, second, third cuts. Because music can fix anything. It's a cheap shot, really. And you can use it to hide serious flaws in something. And if a scene can work without music, it works. A scene that doesn't work can squeak by with music. That's how powerful it is. But I think sometimes an audience can feel manipulated by the music. If it's so lush and it's so loud and it's just bullying you, now's the time you have to be sad. The music works best, I think, when you walk away from the scene talking about what you just saw and didn't notice the music.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it can change everything. You know what I saw? I saw Jaws without the soundtrack. And you know what it was?
Not good.
It was a picture of water. It was the scene on the beach.
Yeah.
It was a picture of water. And it went on forever with kids playing and people talking. It was just a picture of water. And then you put, boom, 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 boom. And it was a horrifying picture of water.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so many people don't realize music can make or break what you're doing. And that's so awesome that
a guy named Eve Barsley did the score for Rudderless, and I went to his place. He was in Nashville, and I went down there, and I was attracted to him because he played a ukulele. He composes on a ukulele, and wow. I would say, okay, this is the scene. I'm hoping to get a helicopter shot. This is the scene where I need a John Williams kind of a swell. And he would send me a recording. What about this? And it was played on a ukulele. And I said, dude, That's your idea. He said, well, you have to imagine it. And I said, well, I got an imagination. Can you do something? Could you maybe just put a little piano under it, just a ukulele? And I'm supposed to imagine a John Williams score. But he was a really talented fellow. And I like the score in this thing. It really works.
That's awesome. Well, I know you talked about the music supervisor helping to pick the songs, but you were obviously involved with some musical decisions along the way, correct?
Oh, yeah. I was all over that. I worked with Charlton when he was recording, and I was there all the time. And we had to think ahead because there were it was scripted. But for instance, in the first song that Billy and Anton, the first time they perform in the bar, there were a couple of bits where Anton had brought in a sample, and he had a keyboard, and he said, don't worry, you're going to love it. And there were moments between them. And that had to sort of be done to a cue. And when we recorded the song, we had to put in those moments. And what was interesting is that the script was still being changed, and we recorded those songs, I'll bet 3 weeks, maybe a month, before we even got to Oklahoma. So I had to imagine the scene and put in those little things.
Wow.
And there was a lot of that. And I didn't get them all right. And a couple of them, too late, I had a great idea, but it hadn't been recorded in.
Well, going back to your point on not putting music in too soon from an editor's perspective, I've heard a lot of stories about directors just putting something in and then they hear it so much that they get used to it. And maybe it's like this huge song that's going to cost way too much money. Have you ever run into an issue that you've fallen in love with something and it's really hard to replace?
Totally. Even with following my friend's advice and not putting the music in until later, you have to start seriously working on the music before your final cut. So the way most people do it is the editor has a library of other film scores, and you take little pieces and you put it in. And it's called temp love. Mm-hmm. And you've heard it 1,000 times by the time it goes to the composer to record his music or her music. And you go, oh, I really liked the Godfather theme in there. This doesn't sound like it, But it's a good way to do it because you get the feel for it. I mean, for all the possible directors out there who are watching this, I've always felt everything has to move the plot forward, every single thing. And I start talking about acting technique and I can feel the will to live drain from people's bodies. So I won't go too far in that direction. But it's all about the characters and their objective. And once you know what your protagonist wants in a scene, that'll answer almost every single question. How do you dress him or her? Well, what does he or she want? Where do you put him in the room? Well, what do you want? You just keep going back to what do you want? Because I've always had this sort of a cherished illusion that you should be able to turn the sound down and watch a film and still pretty much know what's going on. It's got to be in people's bodies, and it's got to be in the shots that you choose. The same with the music. You've got to figure out what the character wants, and the music has to reflect that. It can be contrapunctual to it. It can be the opposite. And you can mix the colors, if you will, of the sound artistically, but it's got to move that plot forward.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, what kind of advice would you give to musicians looking to get more on-camera opportunities? Do they need to be actors per se, or do they need to just be really good at their instrument and maybe get involved with a contractor who hires musicians?
Well, there's a couple of ways to go. First of all, if you want to be a session musician, get really good at your instrument. Learn how to read, and because the people that do that are just astounding. They walk in, they're given a sheet of music, and they play it beautifully the first time, and then inevitably say, "I'm so sorry, that was terrible. Let me try again." So there's that. There are bands that do gigs. They're rock and roll bands or whatever kind of band, and you can get someone to sell snippets of your song to television, and that's a good market. And usually what they're looking for is really short segments. So you've written a rock song that lasts 90 seconds or 2.5 minutes, something like that. And they'll use a 15-second sting from it. So it's all about the sound. That can be very lucrative for a band. And then I guess the other thing is the difference between the musicians and the composer. I don't know how you compose for a film. I think you've got to be a composer anyway, and then you watch the film, and you take a shot on, usually the composer has already had a conversation with the director. I want it sad here. I need this triumphant. I need this scary, at least some guidance like that. And then you take a shot. You decide what instrument could tell that story the best. What's the tempo? Is it quiet? All those questions. Mm-hmm. What's the story you're trying to tell? What's the plot you're trying to move forward?
Yeah.
It's a marvelous thing. Remember Driving Miss Daisy? That's one of my favorite screenplays.
Yeah.
And that's a very simple tune with a little banjo. And they were able to take that one tune and do a lot of different things throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it just takes a simple theme or melody, like you're saying, and
yep.
The movie can be built upon that. And sometimes you don't need the John Williams orchestra. Sometimes you do.
That's right.
Everyone's different.
I used to direct a lot of plays, and one of the things I always like to do, and I like to do it in the film too, is have 2 or 3 themes, and each theme is assigned to either a character or a location, or even something as amorphous as a quest, and that would have a tune. And I like to introduce them early and then bring them back. And especially if it's a song, if it's a melody that is aligned with a character, the first time you hear it, it's brand new. Second time, third time. The fourth time you bring it back, the audience now knows that tune, and it's become something of a friend to them. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how evocative that can be. But you've got to teach the audience those tunes in the front, and then you bring them back in different ways. Exactly. Almost all scripts, film scripts, basically have 3, 4 themes that go through it, and it's variations on that, little etudes that they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been watching The Mandalorian, and I love to notice the themes throughout that series and how they change it up, but it's that same theme just in a different way, but slowed down in this scene, sped up here on a different instrument. It's just really cool to notice how successfully music can move a scene like it does in The Mandalorian.
Yes. It's also, some some films have music from the credits to the end. It's all music. I do really appreciate silence every once in a while. And you can set that up. If you've got a lush score and then you do a scene that's silent, sometimes people don't even know why. They just go, that was so sad. It was so empty. It was so...
Yeah, that's true. You don't always need music in every single moment.
No.
Yeah, I remember, in band class growing up, the music matters, but it's the pauses in between.
Yeah, it's true.
Kind of the same type of idea here. Well, I've heard that you are a musician yourself. Is this true?
A little bit. The aforementioned guitar. I picked up a ukulele about 10 or 15 years ago, and now my guitars have dust on them. I'm obsessed with playing a ukulele. I find it soothing. I have it on set with me all the time. I'm rarely without a ukulele. And it's self-soothing. You can play it very quietly so it doesn't bother anybody on set. And to be blunt, sometimes you can bend over the ukulele and as if you're really composing, and people won't bother you. So it's a good way to keep people from talking to you. Pretend that you're...
So just carry a ukulele with you at all times and you'll be good.
I've become the spokesperson for this company called Woody Creek Distillers.
Okay.
My wife grew up in Woody Creek, Colorado, and we bought her childhood home. And they rented one of our fields and grew potatoes for their vodka. And so I know these guys, and they hired me to be the spokesperson. And we had a great marketing plan, and then the pandemic hit. So I wrote a song, a ukulele song with lyrics, and we put that out during the pandemic. And and then we changed the whole thing. Now I've got this alter ego as the spokesperson named Willie Creeks, and we just recorded a second song, and I'm working on a third one. So you can find those by, put my name in. I recorded birthday songs. I did it for about 5 or 6 years. I've got about 5 of them I haven't recorded yet. But Felicity, my wife, gave me a birthday present of a week with rootin' tootin' musicians and in a studio with a real recording engineer. Oh, it was great. And I recorded 7 of the songs. And they are on, where do musicians put their songs?
Well, on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon.
No.
CD Baby.
There's one more. Anyway.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Put in my name. Just put in my name and music or songs. And I just reposted a Christmas song that I wrote for the Gallaghers on Shameless. We recorded it, I guess, in the first season. It's it gets bleeped every once in a while. It's a Shameless Christmas song.
That's awesome. Have you been involved with the music on Shameless in some degree? I know you've directed a few episodes, right?
I told him about Charlton Pettis, who did Rudderless, and they bought 3 or 4 or 5 things from him. I directed 3 episodes of Shameless, and you get a little bit of input on the music, but not much. Not much. They have somebody, because you're churning these things out one every week and a half or 2 weeks. There's a musical director, and in our case, she does all of that.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess just a couple more things. Do you have any other closing tips for filmmakers and really dealing with music? Because I know that a lot of the time you're talking about not having music in the edits until later, but you're still thinking about music even in the very beginning stages. So what advice would you give filmmakers just when it comes to music in general?
Um, think about what you want the music to do in a particular scene. Well, I guess first, what do you want the music to do in the whole film? Now, it'll have different parts, but is it an uplifting score? Is it a comedy? Is it a tragedy? Do you want to compare opposites in the music? Just the broadest strokes. And then per scene, what's the story you're telling? And I think always consider going against the grain. I don't believe an audience appreciates it when you tell them what to think or how to feel. They like to discover it. So I would say don't hit things on the head too much. And surround yourself with really good people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people make playlists, people still do that, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Well, everyone goes, she made me a playlist. I made a playlist, and this it's great. One man's ceiling is another man's floor is what I'm trying to say. So surround yourself with good people. A lot of people think I'm really good with music, and I discovered I'm not that good with some music, and I surrounded myself with really good people. It's an amazing thing. And I guess for the musicians out there trying to get your stuff into a show, get an agent or a manager or someone who knows the process of how you get music to a show. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, they're looking for you. They're looking for you. The director, maybe not on a TV. Well, yeah, the musical director on a TV show. Here comes a new script, and he or she's going, "Oh man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" And they're desperate to find music. Keep that in mind when you keep pushing and putting your music out there, and you get rejected. Don't lose faith. If you're good at it, someone's going to find it because they're looking for you at the same time you're looking for them. Another way of putting it is they're going to hire someone. Why not you?
That's great.
And figure out how the business runs, and then take advantage of everyone you know. You work for nothing. If you want to score a film, you probably do the first one or two or three for nothing. Every university is churning out these student films all the time, and they're desperate for someone to do their score.
True.
There's a lot of work out there. I don't know if this volume of work that we're putting out now will remain, but it's amazing right now. So ride the bus in the direction it's going. Let's enjoy it while we got it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously this time has brought us some challenges with the pandemic, but I think it's also brought a lot of opportunities. So you just have to jump on, like what you're saying, and just start and figure it out. And like you were suggesting, know the business. So for musicians trying to get their songs in film and TV, get a licensing agent who is constantly talking to the music supervisors, who are constantly talking to the directors, and just go through the proper channels, like you're saying. And it's very encouraging to hear and be reminded that we all need each other.
Yeah.
The production needs music just like the musician wants their song to be placed in the show. So
it's totally true. And, with the agents, my daughter's an actor, and I keep telling her, it's important that you remember this. Who writes the check and who endorses the check? Agents can be very intimidating, and you feel like you got to bake them cookies or wash their car to get their attention. And perhaps you do. But just keep in mind, it's their job to find you. If you're good, that's what the agent gets paid for, finding you. And the good agents will find you. So you're not beholden to them. I'm a lucky guy. I've got a great agent right now. He actually gets me work and thinks about me all the time. He calls me up.
That's great.
So there's a lot of work out there.
That's awesome. Well, very encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that we do at Searchlight, just for everyone that's watching, we are a licensing agent, and we specialize not only in Oklahoma artists, but also artists from all over.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you're watching this and interested in getting a licensing agent, you can definitely send us a submission through our website, searchlightmusicgroup.com. So just wanted to throw that out there for those who might be interested. Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time. It has been such a pleasure to talk to you. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, except that I'll repeat myself, it's an exciting time. The amount of production has exploded. And I know we've been shut down for a while, but it's reopening. I work at Warner Brothers, and that joint's jumping. And they put the protocols in, but it's an amazing time. So I encourage you, if you want to do it, this is the time to get into the business, especially people of color and women. You know, Hollywood has been male and white for so long. And my business is really wonderful in that Hollywood has recognized it. So they are actively reaching out. And not only that, the content that they're coming up with, it used to be, when I grew up, there was 3 TV stations, and a television show had to have, I don't know, 9 million viewers to stay on the air.
Wow.
These days, a couple of 100,000, and they'll go into a second season because there's so many platforms. And that means a lot of stories can be told, and they are telling a lot of different stories. They're not for everyone, but they don't have to be anymore. So the same thing with the music. Those different kinds of stories need different kinds of music. So, you know, there's the Mark Knopfler score, but then there's the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou kind of score. And so give it a shot. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for your wise words and tips. It's really cool that you've had so much experience across all these different areas, and thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you so much, Bill, for being here for the Searchlight Sessions. This video series is designed to help up-and-comers in the entertainment business to help expand ways that they can be successful. Stay tuned for some takeaways from this session to assist with your success. Again, I'm Maggie McClure, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.